December 12, 2017 903 MS December 12, 2017 900 MS Rankings. The top of our Week 15 Fantasy Defense Rankings features the usual suspects, but the bottom half of the starting tier is made up of potential waiver wire pickups. Check out the full list ahead of your fantasy football playoff start-sit-em decisions. There's a good chance that if you're still alive in your fantasy football playoffs, it's because your DST did well last week. Anytime you get a good performance from a defense, it goes a long way toward victory. But figuring out which DST will do well, be it one already on your roster or one sitting there on the waiver wire, isn't always easy. Our Week 15 Fantasy Defense Rankings are here to help, and like most weeks, there are plenty of potential sleepers and busts lurking throughout. The Saints vs. Jets, Lions vs. Bears, Redskins vs. Cardinals, Bills vs. Dolphins, possibly in bad weather again, Cardinals at Redskins, Dolphins at Bills, Colts vs. Broncos, and maybe even the Falcons at Bucks, and Giants vs. Eagles are all available in over half of Yahoo leagues and have favorable matchups this week, assuming Tyrod Taylor and Carson Wentz don't play. Update: Wentz is out. With the Seahawks vs. Rams, Rams at Seahawks, Patriots at Steelers, Steelers vs. Patriots, Chiefs vs. Chargers, and Panthers vs. Packers. Assuming Aaron Rodgers plays, all facing unfavorable matchups, it wouldn't be crazy to sub in one of those widely available DSTs. One of the toughest teams to evaluate this week is the Chargers at Chiefs. They've been as hot as any DST lately, but the Chiefs still rank among the bottom 6 teams in terms of fantasy points allowed to defenses and have seemingly found their mojo again. We still view the Chargers as starters because of their dominant pass rush, but in a road, primetime environment, it's easy to imagine them having a tough time. Week 15 Rankings: Quarterback, Running Back, Wide Receiver, Tight End, Kicker. Reminder: we'll update our rankings throughout the week and add player analysis, so please check back often. Week 15 DFS Yahoo GPP Lineup Ycash DFS Lineup Builder Week 15 Fantasy Football Rankings Defense. These rankings are for standard leagues. 1. Jacksonville Jaguars vs. Texans. TJ Yates might be better than Tom Savage, emphasis on might, but either way, fantasies no. 1. Defense who notched 10 sacks and 4 takeaways against Houston in Week 1 of our uneasy call at number 1 this week. 2. Baltimore Ravens at Browns. Baltimore's defense was shredded by the Steelers on Sunday night, and Cleveland's offense looks positively frisky with Josh Gordon back, but don't let that worry you too much. Baltimore can still exploit bad matchups even without Jimmy Smith, and the Browns are still allowing multiple sacks and multiple takeaways virtually every week. 3. Philadelphia Eagles at Giants. Carson Wentz's season-ending injury could affect Philadelphia's DST, as opposing teams could have better starting field position and games could be closer, leading to fewer passes and chance for sacks. Still, you have to like the Eagles no. 3. Fantasy defense against the Giants, who have averaged 10.8 offensive points over the past 4 weeks and have turned it over 6 times in that span. 4. New Orleans Saints vs. Jets. Bryce Petty, in the noisy Superdome against a team with a decent pass rush and shutdown corner? In a game the Saints need for their playoff push, this could get ugly. 5. Denver Broncos at Colts. The Broncos' DST has finally shown up the past couple weeks, posting 6 sacks, 5 takeaways, and a touchdown. Denver completely shut down the Jets last week, and even on the road, it can do the same to the Colts, who are allowing the 3rd most fantasy points to DSTs. Don't underestimate the potential Thursday night sloppy factor here either. 6. Minnesota Vikings vs. Bengals. Cincinnati might have been broken in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago. The Bengals managed only 7 points while allowing 3 sacks and 2 takeaways to the Bears at home last week, so a road matchup against the Vikings, who have allowed fewer than 14 PPG while posting 3.3 sacks per game and 7 total takeaways in 6 home contests, doesn't figure to end well. 7. Detroit Lions vs. Bears. Detroit struggled in unfavorable matchups in weeks 12 and 13, but it bounced back in a big way against Tampa, racking up 5 takeaways and 3 sacks. In Week 11 against Chicago, Detroit had only 1 sack and takeaway, but it did score a defensive touchdown. At home on a Saturday afternoon, Detroit is in good position against a rookie QB who still hasn't shown the ability to consistently put up points. 8. Washington Redskins vs. Cardinals. Blaine Gabbert hasn't been terrible, but Arizona has allowed 15 sacks the past 2 weeks and 6 turnovers, 2 blocked kicks, and 2 defensive touchdowns the past 4 weeks. Washington has had at least one takeaway and multiple sacks and in all but 2 games this year, so this is a relative high-floor situation for the Redskins. 9 Los Angeles Chargers at Chiefs. LA enters this game on a hot streak, posting 11 sacks, 13 takeaways and 3 defensive TDs over the past 5 games. After a string of poor performances, Kansas City's offense has picked it up the past 2 games, allowing only 1 takeaway while scoring 57 points. This isn't the ideal situation for the Chargers, but their pass rush travels, so even in a road primetime game, there's plenty of upside here against an unpredictable offense. 10 Buffalo Bills vs. Dolphins. Buffalo showed it could take advantage of a bad offense in lackluster conditions last week, and this week could provide a similar situation with Miami coming to town. The Dolphins are allowing the 4th most fantasy points per game to DSTs, and wintry conditions aren't going to help them. 11 Arizona Cardinals at Redskins. The Cardinals aren't making as many big plays as years past, but they've still managed 8 takeaways over the past 4 games. Washington is cold right now, allowing 12 sacks, 6 takeaways and scoring an average of 13.7 ppg over its past 3 contests. 12 Miami Dolphins at Bills. If Tyrod Taylor is back, Miami won't have as much value, but if Nathan Peterman or Joe Webb have to start, then it's all systems go for the Dolphins, who had 5 takeaways in weeks 12 and 13 against the Patriots and Broncos. 13 Indianapolis Colts vs. Broncos. The Broncos offense finally managed a decent game last week, but they still entered Week 14 giving up the most fantasy points to DSTs. Indianapolis DST is pretty terrible, but it took advantage of a bad offense in bad weather last week, 2 takeaways, and it could do the same at home against a bad offense on a Thursday night. 14 Chicago Bears at Lions. Matthew Stafford might be hurt more than we realize, as the Lions have turned it over 8 times 5 INTs the past 3 weeks. Chicago has 6 sacks and 6 takeaways in that same span and has allowed only 22 offensive points in the past 2 weeks. 15 Atlanta Falcons at Bucks. Jameis Winston might be hurt more than we realize, too, as he's thrown 2 INTs and fumbled 3 times in his 2 games since returning from a shoulder injury. Atlanta only managed 1 sack and no takeaways at home against the Bucks in Week 12, but with Winston under center, the Falcons actually have a higher ceiling. 16 Los Angeles Rams at Seahawks. 17 Seattle Seahawks vs. Rams. 18 New England Patriots at Steelers. 19 New York Giants vs. Eagles. 20 Tennessee Titans at 49ers. 21 Dallas Cowboys at Raiders. 22 Cincinnati Bengals at Vikings. 23 Carolina Panthers vs. Packers. 24 Green Bay Packers at Panthers. 25 Houston Texans at Jaguars. 26 Pittsburgh Steelers vs. Patriots. 27 San Francisco 49ers vs. Titans. 28 Kansas City Chiefs vs. Chargers. 29 Oakland Raiders vs. Cowboys. 30 Cleveland Browns vs. Ravens. 31 Tampa Bay Buccaneers vs. Falcons. 32 New York Jets at Saints.